competitions. You know they're important. How are you going to fit them in and how are you going to do them? Let's take a look. So why should you care, right? So a lot of you probably know that competitions are important, but top programs, again, they're looking for them. It's not a nice to have, it's a must have. It's a great way to academically stand out, especially if you do competitions that are academic competitions. We'll talk about those. It demonstrates your STEM abilities and commitment, right? You're applying as a STEM major, potentially, but if you're pre-med or if you're applying to a BSMD program, you're saying that STEM is in your future and that's something that you care about. They're going to be looking for this. Now, if you don't do it, you're going to rely more on subjective factors. And what I mean by this is they have to look at other things that sound like you're committed to a career maybe in medicine or pre-med or a STEM. But when you do a competition and you place, it's subjective that you got third in the state or first in the nation or whatever it is. It's very objective. And that is a great way, admissions officers love ways to standardize people because it helps them compare apples to apples, right? So standardized testing, your application, competitions, especially if you are competing in a major competition, they want to see that because it helps them understand, okay, this is somebody who's serious. And then everyone else will have it except for you. Like I said, a lot of the top programs, they almost expect it. So a lot of the applicants to these top programs are going to have it. So let's talk about these competitions, right? Okay, so first of all, competitions are structured challenges where students showcase their expertise, problem-solving skills, and research in medicine, science, healthcare, innovation. They vary in format and difficulty and focus area, obviously, offering opportunities to win awards, scholarships, recognition that boost college applications. So you know what competitions are. You've probably been involved in them. So let's get into the different types and which ones you might be able to do. First, medical and science research competition. So these are for the people that want to conduct research or kind of do independent mentored research projects, right? So you're going to find a lot of like these archetypes or these types of students based on their interest in what kinds of competitions they do, what kinds of summer programs they do, capstone projects, all of that, right? So the nature of these includes science fairs, where you present research in a poster or oral presentation to judges. Some require written papers, but you're basically presenting about research. The format is usually individual, but some allow team submissions. Okay. Some examples include Regeneron, STS. This is like the Rolls Royce of these types of research competitions. ICEF, where you're presenting research at some of the world's largest science fairs and usually begin at kind of local level science fairs and you work your way up. So this is, again, one of the reasons that you need to start early, planning early, because you're not going to get to ICEF if you're not starting locally first, right? And that takes time. And JSHS, Junior Science and Humanities Symposium. This is where you're going to do an oral presentation on a particular research that you've been doing, competing in these. And again, you're not going to be able to do this unless you've actually put in the work to do research. So most people compete in these in junior year because they spend the first 2 years actually doing the research that they're going to be competing in. So that's why it's really important to plan ahead and start early. Next, biomedical and healthcare innovation competitions. So this is for those who want to solve real-world issues, medical challenges at least, with tech or entrepreneurship. So some of the natures of these competitions includes case competitions or project-based challenges where students design healthcare solutions, right? So you probably heard of case competitions if you've done like any business kind of competition before. Very similar format. Usually team-based, requires the group of students to develop an innovation, write a proposal, pitch an idea to judges. Okay, very case competition-like. Some examples include the Conrad Challenge, probably heard of this before, in the health and nutrition category, where you create a health-focused invention or startup. Biogenius Challenge, where you conduct research in biotech and you pitch your findings. Genes in Space is actually really interesting, where you actually design a DNA experiment for research in space, and they get to send that experiment to the International Space Station. So very interesting. Next, STEM and academic Olympiads. These are probably ones you're really familiar with. This is where you basically sit down and take a test, and for people who really have a particular interest in a particular science and they want to showcase their expertise in it. So bio, health sciences, problem solving, whatever that is. So the nature of this includes timed exams, problem solving challenges that test biology, medical sciences, analytic skills, things like chemistry, physics Olympiads, disease Olympiads. There's a bunch of them. So they're usually individual and some team rounds and competitions like Science Olympiad. Okay, so examples include the USABO, Biology Olympiad. So this is a biology test that you take and, you can rank internationally or nationally. Then you have the Science Olympiad, like Anatomy, Physiology, Disease Detectives. So there's a bunch of different ones. You can look it up, but you need to usually qualify through your own club or school, through your school local level first. And then there's Google Science Fair. So it's an individual science and innovation competition that's open globally. Okay. Next, you have public health and advocacy competitions. So if you're somebody who's passionate about healthcare, policy, ethics, things like that, this might be something that is interesting to you. So the nature of these includes case study analyses, policy proposals, writing on major public health topics. Some require live presentations. So you're kind of writing a policy paper or analysis at that point. Individual or team-based, it just depends really on the competition. There's no rhyme or reason to it. And this includes the WHO Public Health Essay Competition, the CDC Detective Camp, where you're analyzing case studies. These are wonderful opportunities to get involved in this kind of competition. Next is you have a debate and writing competition. So these are like the less commonly done competitions, I would say, but they are perfect for certain kinds of students. So if you're interested in bioethics, healthcare policy, or medical journalism, so this is going to include a lot of writing, debate style arguments, medical journalism challenges, individual, often live, but if you're really just debating people or writing about a particular topic. Some examples include the American Medical Association, AMA Bioethics Essay Contest, where you're writing about a particular dilemma within medicine. You have the National Speech and Debate category within medical ethics category, where you're debating somebody. So if you're somebody who really likes debate and is in debate, these are kinds of competitions you might want to think about. And the New York Times STEM Writing Contest. This is a very, very popular one. All right, so these are the 5 general types of competitions that you can do, and I urge you to do it based on what is interesting to you. So how to actually get this done. The first thing is pick the right competition for your niche. Again, we go back to your niche, we go back to your narrative. What is that? Based on what you've decided you want your narrative to be, then you can choose one of these 5 different competition types. So, like I said, if you're interested in biotech, let's say you can focus on BioGenius or ISF. Start early. These competitions require months of preparation and research proposals. So for some of the competitions, like I said, some of like ISF, for example, you're competing in it as a junior because you've been putting in a year or 2 minimum of research that you can actually present and compete in. So there's a lot of ones that you need to be putting in a lot of work. Find mentors and research opportunities. I go back to this in almost every one of my videos. You need somebody who can help you do this, especially if you want to do one of the research competitions. You need a mentor to actually mentor you through the research, right? And then use past winners as a blueprint. Try to look at some of these competitions on their websites, actually show you past winners, right? Or you can go online and read on the forums or go to YouTube or whatever. Just try to see what has worked in the past and try to see how you can do something similar. Okay, don't reinvent the wheel. And finally, you need to practice, right? Practicing for your presentation, practicing for a debate, practicing for the test, whatever it is, you need to put in the work. Treat it like an exam you would, right? Or a class project. Now, what can you do today to get started on this? First, pick 2 to 3 competitions that fit your strengths, your interests, your niche, right? We talked about this. Next, you're going to research past winners under projects. So if you decided that you want to do research and you decided that you really want to go for ISEF, go to ISEF's website and look at the past winners and what kind of research have they done. Know what the level of research they expect at that level is, okay? Then you got to plan your competition calendar or your calendar for basically how you're going to prepare for this. Do you need a 1-year plan, a 2-year plan, a 3-year plan, whatever that may be, right? Start brainstorming research ideas and forming a team. If you need a team for some of these things, then you need to plan things out. For those of you who are well aware of HOSA, Health Occupation Students of America, there are team-based competitions and you need to put together a team early, right? So these are things you need to think about. And then reach out to mentors. Again, people who can help you and guide you, whether it's for research purposes or for like, if you're on a debate team, reach out to your debate advisor, whatever that is, you need somebody to help guide you. It could very well be, honestly, somebody at your school who's done this competition before and did well on it. Have them do it, right? So that's what it's going to be. I recommend you go through this today, and I'll see you in the next video.